Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Guitar Souls podcast. This is episode number 85, and I am one of your hosts, Mr. Levi Clay, and I'm here with my good friend, Mr. Mike McLaughlin. How is it going, bud?
Not bad, my handsome friend. It's nice to see you. Obviously, we can't see each other in person, so it's nice to see you, even if it is through a webcam. How are you?
Yes, mate, I'm pretty good. Well, you know, the usual, the exhausted, but not just exhausted from exhaustion, exhausted from YouTube. I am exhausted from having a podcast that people watch and people enjoy, but they don't engage with. So if you are watching or listening to this podcast on Spotify or wherever your RSS feed goes, make sure you leave us a review. Please hit the thumbs up, subscribe, all of that stuff, because it really does help with engagement. And the last episode we got a bit hammered on in terms of views, and that's a shame, because I thought it was a really good episode. So I'm exhausted because of the joys of YouTube and the world being the world. How about you?
I totally appreciate what you're saying, man. Constantly clawing upwards into it, like just climbing and climbing and climbing. It must be like what climbing a mountain's like, because you get to a certain peak and you go, fuck, I must be there. Then you look up and you go, shit, there's about 9 summits more. There's always something there just to stop you.
Unfortunately, you look up and it always seems to be Stevie T at the top of it. You're like, how the fuck has that happened?
Never. Not even once.
Yeah.
That'd be the worst kind of apparition I would ever have.
I got a thoroughly enjoyable bit of abusive content on my YouTube channel this morning when I woke, and I read my comments. I had a comment from a Stevie T fan, obviously, on my Stevie T video, and it just said something along the lines of, I love Stevie, Stevie's fucking awesome, leave me alone, adults fucking suck. Like describing someone as an adult, using adult as a pejorative, like... Nice. That just highlights the level of stupidity that you're dealing with when you say mean things about someone who says mean things. But such is life.
Well, I'm just going to send you something quickly. I was just quickly Googling it there. If you want to put it up on screen later on or whatever, that's up to you. This video has over 1 million views and came out on the 8th of January 2008. And this to me is what I picture a Stevie T fan as when you talk about just a Stevie T fan.
So describe to me what we're watching.
I'm just going to send you on Messenger so you can watch it, and then I'll describe it for people that obviously can't contact. So, about 12 years ago, that's probably accurate, 2008. I think Kieran found this, funnily enough, right? And this is a band called Blackout. And the song's called Video Games. And it's clearly like rich, middle class, white American teens whose their parents had enough money to either build them recording equipment or build them a wee studio or send it to the studio and film a video. But it's probably the worst. Probably the worst. It's probably the only way I can describe it.
I've got it.
And that's Stevie T fans.
Yeah, this seems like Rebecca Black with guitars and no auto-tune.
Didn't have the budget for auto-tune. The lyrics to it are something like, I don't want to go to school, I want to be real cool, just want to play video games all the time and every day. Yeah,
it's a strange chorus where they're just repeating this hook, just want to play video games. I just want to play video games. Yeah.
That's essentially it.
That's a really strange message to send out when you're standing on stage playing guitar. It's like, you could be playing video games right now. How much do you really want to be playing video games? You buffoon.
You done fucked up. Comments are turned off. Over 1 million views.
That's I think that's probably your average Stevie T fan. So yes. An additional piece of information for everybody: we will be starting a giveaway next week, next episode. I think, assuming the prize shows up. So we'll be doing a giveaway as of next week, and the plan is we're not even going to tell you exactly what it is that we're giving away just yet. You'll get to know all about that next week.
Wait. I think it's even better to say that we don't really know what we're getting just yet to give away, which is even better.
That is a fair point. That is absolutely a fair point.
But even better in that regard, because we get to get excited about what the fuck we're getting to give away as well.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Yeah. So what we are going to do is we are going to start a fan mail section on the show. So in order to enter into this competition, you need to send us an email. Obviously, you need to be subscribed. You'll need to be subscribed to wherever you watch us. Sharing the podcast helps, etc., etc. But we are going to require you to send us some fan mail. Now, to be clear, You don't need to put a whole lot of effort into this. If you want to just send us a bit of fan mail saying, I would like the prize, then that's absolutely fine. We will be taking a note of all the emails that we get, and they will be going into a tombola, and we will be selecting a winner in, 4 weeks or something like that. Maybe 5 weeks now. But we're going to have you send us some fan mail. But we want a fan mail section on the show. So if you do want to send us something a little bit more interesting, like, you want to tell us a joke, you want to tell us how you found the podcast and why you enjoy the podcast, or you want to send us some erotic fan fiction, or anything you like, anything that you think might be interesting, anything that you think we'll read and think that'll be funny, we'll read that out on the show, please do. So the email address, and it's up on screen now, is GsolesFanMail@gmail.com. One more time, that's GSoles, that's GSOLES, fanmail, I'm sure you can spell fanmail, @gmail.com.
You were just struggling to read that there. Tell the truth.
I'm not even reading. Like, I'm staring at your face, and I'm slowly typing it out in my mind. I'm like, have I completely butchered that?
No, you had it right. Well done. I'm proud of you.
Yeah. So
you can get star of the day like Finley gets. Skill.
The idea was, when we were talking about this giveaway, it was like, well, how can we do this and make it something that will be fun and engaging for people? And this just seemed like the most fun, because I think that even after this giveaway ends, we want you guys to keep sending in random bits of info and fan mail and stuff, not because we rely on it, but because it's funny. And if you want to be a part of the show and you want to send something that we think is funny enough for us to read out, we would absolutely love to see it. So get your mail into GsolesFanMail@gmail.com, and we'll have some fun with that.
We've tested the email address as well. It definitely works. I sent Levi a lovely image earlier on.
He did.
Which is not safe for life, never mind fucking work.
Yeah.
So nobody else wants to see that, and Levi didn't know it was coming.
That is true. And on a completely, and I assure you this is a completely unrelated note, did you know? This show is brought to you by Ormsby Guitars. If you want to see something beautiful, head on over to Ormsby's Instagram page right now and see what they are all about. Ormsby Guitars have been at the cutting edge of guitar design innovation since Perry started the company way back in 2003. Since then, the brand has gone on to be one of the #1 brands associated with Australia and modern guitar design. Aside from having one of the most ridiculous custom shops in the market today and a dedicated team that can essentially build you anything that your heart desires, more recently the brand has gained critical acclaim for their runs of custom order guitars manufactured in Korea, shipped to Australia, and then sent out through their distributor network. These guitars include incredible designs such as the Hype and the Goliath. If you head on over to Ormsby's website right now and check out the pre-order section, you can pre-order a Goliath Run 14 guitar now for under $1,200. That's an incredible price and an amazing amount of guitar for your money. So a massive thanks to our friends and family over at Ormsby Guitars. You guys absolutely rock. Congratulations as well to those guys on the launch and the release of the Futura model, which is going out to people now, and you can head on over to their website, check one of those out, and maybe you want one of those. Maybe you do, maybe you do, maybe you don't. They have plenty of nice guitars. I'm sure you might find something that you enjoy, and if you do, let them know that we sent you.
Please. Did you see the Black Friday specials?
I did. I did, and I got excited and then was disappointed by them, to be completely honest, because because they're Black Friday deals, and you see the price that's advertised, but that's the deposit, and when you scroll down further, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, this is still. I'm not getting a super steal.
No, definitely not. Well, there are. Pez mentioned something about B-stock and that potentially coming up, especially because the UK and Europe didn't get the same releases as them, but there was. Every one of those Goliaths that I went through with the black finish and then the coloured in grain.
Sure.
Oh my god, every one of them. And then the white one.
Yeah, I have to be completely honest, those kind of filled grain or sand-blasted finish type things, they're just not for me on any guitars. I've seen a few, can think of like Ibanez doing them a while back, and Mayonnaise thought that they were going to be the next big thing for them. And they may well be, and maybe brands love them, but for me, no, thank you. I like I like a nice flamed top or a quilted top or a bright color, etc., etc. But fortunately, I think whatever brand you're looking at playing, you're gonna offer you a selection of finishes, and you don't have to have those horrible sandblasted finishes. So Yeah, that's my thing. I was also just thinking there with back to that. I just want to play video games. I could be in my bed right now playing on my PS5 and not. I should point out not playing a PS5 game because I've realised that I'm an absolute turbo nerd, and the thing that I'm enjoying more than anything right now, more than anything because it just went on sale, is playing Everybody's Golf because I love a good golf game. That's how much of a nerd I am.
Really?
I don't like golf. I've never watched golf, never played golf, but golf game, magnifique.
Golf with your friends is really fun. It's a good game.
I'm sure I saw that, actually. I'm sure I saw that while I was looking for a golf game that I wanted to play. So, yeah.
If it's cross-platform, I'll play it with you because it's fucking tremendous. It's just stupid.
Yeah. So
Someone
shall we
can
take this
describe
onto the world of music?
Yes, let's go on a journey, brother. Let's do it. Let's invade these people's earlobes with our terrible, terrible opinions on the world.
It should also be pointed out that I kind of want to let Mike lead the show this week because I woke up this morning and Mike had sent me a list of all the stories that we were going to talk about, and I'm like, wow, this is you're running the show now, man. This is all you. So what do we have first, Mike?
Well, we've actually got quite a few stories. The reason I sent you such a list, when I got up this morning, I had a quick look, tidied the house a wee bit, had a quick look, and I was like, we haven't really posted anything in the group because it's been pretty quiet. You know, there's not been lots of things jumping up on Facebook.
Fair.
There was like one thing I saw that I put in the list where I was like, that needs to go in. So just done a quick look, and I was like, there's actually quite a few, like, I'd maybe not say typical for us, but definitely in our wheelhouse, interesting topics to look at. For anybody watching, I apologise that I'm no longer wearing a hat and that I've got a hair like I've been dragged through a bush backwards. I'm not long at my bed either, so deal with it. It's probably the best way to put it. It's Sunday after all. So, sorry, story one. Obviously, you know that Levi and myself are both very big fans of System of a Down. We were excited when the other two tracks came out and we were talking about it. But System of a Down's Chop Suey hits 1 billion views on YouTube. And this was reported 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Straight from Loudwire. Now, just before we even go any further, just think about that number, right? That stupid Blackout video games video that I just sent you, right? That's got over 1 million views.
Yeah.
That's a lot. System of a Down, Chop Suey has hit 1 billion views on YouTube. That is fucking insanity in my mind.
Yeah, we don't like the title on this story is enough. Like, you don't need to read any further than that. I did some looking around because I thought that, you know, how many rock and metal songs have reached that billion mark? And to be fair, you know, lots of songs have reached the billion mark. In fact, if you go on, there's a Wikipedia page dedicated to YouTube songs that have achieved over 1 billion views. And when you go and look down on that list, they don't even bother listing bands that have just got 1 billion. You know, I think the lowest one they have is like 2.5 billion. So, you know, there are a lot of songs, but it's worth pointing out there's not a single rock song on that list. So it's considerably rarer for rock and metal music. But 1 billion is still nothing to be scoffed at. And I can't think of a more iconic song to hit that billion views mark. Could you hazard a guess at another band that might, a rock or metal band that might have comfortably hit 1 billion views?
Metallica.
Which song?
Nothing Else Matters.
You think Nothing Else Matters? Let's take a quick look.
Maybe. It's not quite metal, but rock. Journey, Don't Stop Believing.
So I would have thought that, if anything, you would have gone with Enter Sandman. Looking at Nothing Else Matters, that's sitting at 858 million.
Okay. I'm surprised about that.
Enter Sandman is sat at, wow, so Nothing Else Matters was a better shout. Enter Sandman is sat at 433 million. So, yeah.
Drop in the ocean, know what I mean? Rookie numbers.
Don't Stop Believing.
Those numbers up.
Don't Stop Believing. So it doesn't look like there's an official. Oh, there is an official Journey page, maybe. That's
I think they've got a YouTube channel through Vivo, have they not?
There's lots of videos for Don't Stop Believing, but none of them you would consider to be like the official video. That's lots of spread out views, but it's sitting around 100 odd million. So yeah, no, you haven't hit 1 billion. Any more guesses?
You said it had to be rock or metal?
Rock or metal. Ideally metal. I think metal is interesting.
Back in Black, AC/DC, if we're going to go rock.
Let's have a look at Back in Black. Back in Black, the official video on YouTube is sitting at 675 million views.
So I'm not quite hitting the billion then.
This is interesting because I actually thought some of these also would be sat at a billion. But for people that are thinking of numbers, because a billion is just a hard number to visualize, this should put this in perspective for you a little bit. These are iconic songs and they've not reached that billion mark. It's worth considering, of course, that it's a different generation. And the generation that listen to System are also YouTube consumers. So that makes sense. But
I think on top of that, even though System of a Down are a fairly strange band in terms of every album's got its own kind of weird niches of noise and whatever else, they're still insanely popular, even in the mainstream. The fact that they've played such big festivals and been played on the radio and stuff's crazy.
Yeah, for comparison, if I look at like Toxicity by System of a Down, that's sitting at 491 million. So Chop Suey really has run away in terms of popularity. Any other guesses before I give you a few metal songs, rock and metal songs that have reached the billion mark?
Honestly, no. I can't think of anything that I think would be up there that wasn't bands I've already mentioned.
Okay. So if I give you 3 songs that have reached that, of course, Queen, Bohemian Rhapsody.
Okay, fair enough. I was thinking more towards the wheelhouse of actual like kind of metal bands or hard rock bands rather than...
No, totally. Queen are an interesting one, aren't they? Because they've totally got some harder rock tunes, like Hammer to Fall. We wouldn't think of...
Seven Seas Awry.
Yeah, Bohemian Rhapsody as being metal, but certainly, rock, almost prog rock we could go with. Guns N' Roses, November Rain. That's over 1 billion views. And
see, these are more ballads. That's what's kind of thrown me off, I think. But that's me. Fair enough, right? And final one?
Finally, Numb by Linkin Park.
That makes sense.
Yeah, which is at 1.4 billion views.
If you count how many times that's been over the top of some sort of anime AMV and put on YouTube, it's probably several billion. So,
yeah. But if you are watching the show, please let us know in that comment section below if you can find or think of any metal songs, like true metal songs that are in the billion views mark, because I don't want to say without question, but I think that System of a Down's Chop Suey is probably the highest in terms of being an out-and-out metal song, because even Numb, sure, it's got all the heavy stuff in it, and you have to call it new metal, but it's not like heavy, if you know what I mean. Whereas Chop Suey is heavy. That's brutally aggressive. There's screaming in it. That's what I want. A song that has someone either screaming or shouting in it. You know what I mean?
Well, credit where credit's due, man. God rest him. Chester Benningfield had quite the scream.
He did. He absolutely did. Yeah. Great vocalist. So, yeah, I enjoyed that story, and I hope you enjoyed where I took it.
It was good. It was good fun.
But will we enjoy the boss, the boss, HM2?
I think so. Well, it will be of no surprise to anyone who's listening who has even spent 5 minutes looking into the kind of noise I like to make, that I like a lot of gain. I like a lot of noise. Boss are bringing back the HM2 heavy metal back from the dead as a Waza Craft reissue, and it wants your design input, which I think is fucking cool. I mean, it could go incredibly wrong, but only if people are fucking stupid, which they generally are.
It tends to go well when you crowdsource design, because anybody that chipped in on the design then feels the need to buy it.
I mean, there is that. And credit where credit's due to Boss as well. It's not very often I think they reach out to people to say what is the features that you actually want. And given that this is a pedal that holds a special place in specific genres of metal and has been used by other people as well, as far as I know, this is like a main part of a Simon Neil's pedal board as well, from Biffy Clyro. So if somebody like him is using that to beef up their sound and playing genuinely like fucking just playing like the biggest fucking arenas on earth, and having ridiculous fame, then it can't be that bad. Is how I would say it. Anyway, let me read on. So, a cult classic and one of the most important distortion pedals in the history of metal, the Boss HM2 Heavy Metal is to be reissued as part of the Japanese Effects Titans Deluxe Waza Craft series. For anyone that doesn't know, the Waza Craft series are essentially pimped up better quality, fancier versions of certain pedals, and they only really do them for the ones they think are going to sell pretty well and that people will have. So you get like a special edition of the pedal. I don't know if they change them in any way with mods and stuff, but I would imagine they probably refine the circuit. HM2 has long been out of commission, but it's never been out of style. Take a look at the picture above. That configuration, all knobs jacked to the max, might not have been in the original user's manual. That's how the HM2 helped create the sound of Swedish death metal on seminal albums such as Entombed's Left Hand Path. There is scarcely a more important pedal in underground metal. I'd probably agree with that. Bands such as Nails and Rotten Sound have taken that Stockholm savagery and applied it in different contexts, proving that a production line distortion used in the most unorthodox fashion can yield spectacular results. Take a wee bit of umbrage when talking about Nails, because the guy for Nails broke his and then threw it into the crowd and then finished the gig, and then I think he was like basically putting things up online saying like, unless somebody can get me one of these pedals, we're not doing the rest of the gigs. Banger. Anyway, long story short, the HM2 is coming. There is an HM2W Facebook group set up for players to offer suggestions. So far, which was about 3 days ago when this article was released, 3 days ago, there was 1,300 users joined. So I think this will be a very interesting project. I think there'll be a lot of people who get involved. But you know what? I think there'll also be a couple of people who will get really bent out of shape. You know the guy for Lone Wolf Audio? Have you heard any of the stories about this guy?
No.
Essentially, all he makes is HM2 copies, right? He's got one called the Left Hand Wrath, I think. And he runs one of these metal groups, and if anybody mentions essentially any other pedal type or whatever, or criticises them, he deletes them, bans them. But sometimes the criticism has been very fair. Most pedal builders who are out doing boutique stuff get everything right. You look inside it and it's beautifully wired and it's been soldered really great. There have been examples I've seen of this chap from Lone Wolf Audio where the pots aren't even aligned, they're like wonky and shit. As if it's just been like randomly drilled, and then in the back of them is a total mess. Now I'm not saying that goes for all of them. He might create the best HM2 copies on earth, or refinements or whatever. But I just wonder how he's going to take it when he finds out that his market that he stole from Boss when they stopped doing the heavy metal are probably going to go right back on the heavy metal. Yeah, are going to go right back to Boss when they know they can get the design refined. Yeah, and better yet, they might even get recommendations to do this or do that with the pedal that have come from this guy's refinements. Yeah. And he doesn't really have a leg to stand on at that point because he built on their platform. So
well,
that'll be interesting to watch.
Money from it. For me, the idea of like a Boss pedal being desirable is interesting because I always think of Boss pedals as being the not budget conscious, but certainly when we were growing up, they were the cheap pedals that you would buy. Obviously, a lot of pedal companies have come in and created much cheaper pedals now. So I guess Boss are a little bit higher in my mind in terms of their standing. But to me, they're always, like a budget pedal. So I just fired up eBay to have a look to see if I wanted to buy an HM2, how much money I'm looking at.
Is it Japanese ones you're looking at?
Yeah, considerably more expensive than I had expected.
Very sought after, especially the Japanese ones.
Old battered up ones. They go from the cheapest buy it now price on one is £150.
Aye,
which is probably about $190. Which is certainly a lot more than I had imagined that would be. I wonder why they put it out of production. You know what I mean?
No idea. It maybe wasn't popular at the time, but as times went on and metal has become way more popular in an underground where like all these subgenres are creating themselves and spiraling out, then maybe that's something to do with it. Yeah. Just a guess.
I've got a non-Japanese one here with 6 days left on the auction, and it's at £64. So... I'm sure if I compared that to like a Boss DS1, they would be totally different, totally different prices. So
somebody else will be paying you to take the fucking DS1. Here's 20 quid, please just take it away, please. No, I'm only saying that, but in a kind of joking way. There seems to be quite a few Boss pedals that have got a cult following. If you remember, the Wazacraft came out with the Dimension C, I believe. It was the weird chorus with the 4 buttons on the top of it.
Yeah.
That was another one that seemed to be like niche, but a decent niche, if you know what I mean. Which is good. I like to see it. Everybody that wants to get about it and play some good funds, that's all you want. You know what I mean? That's the dream. So
shall
it'd
we?
be nice to see when this turns up and see what they're like. I don't know.
Should we go from talking about something that you like maybe would want to buy, because I can see people actually maybe wanting to buy this, to something that people absolutely should not want to buy?
Yes.
Oh,
absolutely.
And another band that probably you would think would maybe have 1 billion views on YouTube.
Cheeky.
Tell us this story and I'll have a quick look.
Yeah, you do that. So this is another story of us railing on Corey Taylor and his infinite need to be in the spotlight. 3 Slipknot Funko figures coming out in 2021, and maybe a new album. Yay! At the start of the year, it was announced 3 Slipknot figures would be added to the Funko popular line of Pop Rocks vinyl collectibles. For anyone that doesn't know what a Funko figure is, I'd be surprised if there's anybody listening that hasn't even seen them online or whatever. Essentially, it's just a wee model of a person or a character from a show or whatever with a big head, and they're apparently very collectible.
I'm laughing because I can't imagine a world where we're having to explain what Funko Pop figures are. Just because they're so ubiquitous.
I know, but just fucking Google it if you don't know. Anyway, on to the story. They were originally expected, which is the Slipknot ones, to see an August release, and now pre-orders are available with the product set to ship in early 2021. What's even more exciting, I would say that's subjective, is that the band may release a new album next year, per Corey Taylor. Despite Slipknot totaling 9 members, and if you were to count past members, only 3 figures, Corey Taylor, Sid Wilson and Craig Jones have been announced. That's good. 3 of the 9.
Yeah, Craig and Sid, everyone's favourite members of Slipknot. Like,
and
I think that most people could put on a Slipknot record, a Slipknot song, whatever you like, an entire Slipknot gig, and probably not be able to point out what it is that Craig does in that band. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what Craig does in that band. I know what he's supposed to do in that band, but I also can't help but think, surely Sid can do those things as a DJ. That makes, like, Craig with his big pointy spikes, as you can see on screen now. Like, think of that guy. What the hell does he do in Slipknot? Who knows?
I think he fingered his own mouth in the video for Left Behind. That's the only thing I can think of him doing. So Loudwire were good enough to comment, obviously, with such a high rotation of outfits and masks over the course of Slipknot's 2-decade reign as one of metal's biggest bands, there's plenty of variants Funko could have elected to go with, and probably still will. As seen in Funko's social media post below, Taylor, Wilson and Jones are depicted in their most current state, as seen on the We Are Not Your Kind album cycle. The one exception here is that Jones is wearing a blue zip-up jumpsuit, a colour which was not seen on the tour in support of the 2019 record. Who cares? Like,
nerds care.
Also, on top of that, right, go and look at the Funko Pop figures.
Funko Pops annoy me, right? Because there are, every now and again, there's a Funko Pop figure that actually, like, I'm wearing a Kings of Catch t-shirt, which is a Scottish wrestling duo,
and it's Funko
and
Pops.
they've been done in the style of Funko Pops. So yeah, good. That wasn't planned in the slightest. But occasionally there's a Funko Pop figure that I look at and I'm like, that's quite cool. I really like the particular artist or the reference here. I quite like that. But the thing with a Funko Pop figure is you can't just have one, or maybe you can just have one, but it's a slippery slope, and before you know it, you've got a collection of 20 or 30 of these fuckers, and I don't want to be that. I've certainly had a few of these over the years, put it that way. Like the idea of them releasing a Mick Thompson one, I think, oh, that'd be pretty cool. Yeah, sure, I'd buy a Mick Thompson Funko Pop. But then I'm like, but why? Why would I buy a Mick Thompson? To me, the Funko Pop figures are this strange brand of, you see them, go, oh, that's cute. And that cuteness is enough to make you part with your money, and you don't know why you've done it. I don't need a Mick Thompson Funko Pop, so please don't make one, because if you do, I'll probably have to buy it, and then it will just go in the bin in 6 months' time when I realise it's just sat there and not done anything. So, yeah.
I don't think I would ever buy them. Not for me.
I've got the Slipknot YouTube stats up, and no, not even one song is even close. Not even close to 1 billion.
Right, here's one that you might. That's a pretty new, or not a new band, but certainly newer school. Baby Metal. Are they on there?
What this big song would be? Gimme Chocolate.
I don't know any of their music. I just know who they are.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to get shit for that in the comments, by the way. If I should listen to baby metal, tell me.
They're okay. I saw them live at Download. They were perfectly good, yeah. No, Gimme Chocolate is sitting at 128 million views. So
Still a ridiculous number.
This should actually be our running theme, not even fan mail, but just randomly throughout the show, whenever a band pops into our mind, just, I wonder if they've got 1 billion views on YouTube. And every time we're just reinforcing how unbelievably popular System of a Down's Chop Suey is.
I like it. That's like the standard. They've set the bar.
Yeah. And I'd totally buy a Darren Malakian Funko Pop figure. But they would be certainly more valid than Slipknot ones. So.
You would buy a John Dalmain one.
I would, yeah.
And Donald Trump. You could set them together.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, fuck Funko Pops.
Should we get onto the story that's gonna? Should we get onto the story that's gonna make you rage more than anything else?
The story that you sent me, that before I even read the headline, I was like,
yes.
Not quite that bad, but come on to fuck it. But I read a bit into it, and I'm just like, whatever you're into, okay.
Just read this title, and as you're reading it, dear viewers, please watch Mike's face crumple into a ball as he has to say these words.
Fender CEO wants to sign Avenged Sevenfold's Synyster Gates, calls him contemporary manifestation of guitar icons like Ritchie Blackmore. Andy Mooney also talks about Slash wielding a Fender Stratocaster and more. So essentially, for the rest of this, while I'm reading, just imagine that you're in a fantasy land, because you may as well be with the things that this man is saying. During a conversation with Guitar World, Fender CEO Andy Mooney sang praises of Avenged Sevenfold and guitarist Sin Gates, while also touching on Ritchie Blackmore, Slash, guitar, fake news, and more. You can check out Fender's products here when asked who is one player you'd love to sign up for a Fender signature model that isn't on the roster, Andy replied, I'm a heavy metal guy. I mean, right away I'm going to discredit him for saying that. If he was a heavy metal guy, he wouldn't like Avenged Sevenfold. I'm a heavy metal guy. Oh no,
Mike's one of those metal guys that gets to decide what real metal is.
I am the gatekeeper, mate. I am the elitist. Look, my arms are crossed, everyone can't get in, mate. Bard. Sorry. I'm a heavy metal guy. My number one hero growing up was Blackmore. I just loved his blend of classical phrasing and training with the unbelievable rock sound and showmanship on stage. I guess a contemporary manifestation of that would be someone like Synyster Gates from Avenged Sevenfold. I love that band. The way he plays is incredible. He's a master technician and lightning fast, but also a great showman. There's a laundry list of people I'd love to sign. He's more in the vein of the kind of guitarist who influenced me when I was a kid. I despair.
He's not lightning fast, and he's not, I forget the exact quote, but he's not, I wouldn't call him a technical wizard. He has a few moments that I think are pretty cool. But what he's good at, he's a showman. He's in a band that's about being a showman, and I think he's like, credit where credit's due. You have to, if you think of like the new metal bands, you don't really. It's Mike Shinoda, isn't it, from Linkin Park?
Mm-hmm.
No, Brad Delson was the guitarist in that band. Mike was the.
Mike Shinoda was the rapper. Sorry.
Sure. Yeah,
right.
Brad is the guitarist. Can anybody think what Brad looked like? I think of that era, you can think what you'll remember Limp Bizkit, Where's Borland?
Yes,
because he had that. He had a cool thing going on, and I think for me, the thing that Synyster Gates has done right is he's got a brand. He's got a thing. You could have a Funko Pop figure of Synyster Gates. You could not have a Funko Pop figure of Brad from Linkin Park. And
I really hope you wouldn't.
When you're talking about like in instances like this where it's marketing, isn't it? When you're trying to sign up artists to release signature guitars, you want to go with somebody that's very marketable. Back in the day, I always thought it was odd that PRS released a Mike Mushcock baritone. Can you remember Mike Mushcock?
Mushcock.
Is it Mushcock?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not Mushcock.
Okay, yep, fine.
Mushcock, Mike Mushcock, yeah, because he also had a Ibanez baritone.
Yeah, what band did he play with?
Stained.
Okay, so Mike remembers this.
I remember the Mike Mushcock because it was a really cool SZ mahogany body.
Right.
Baritone, scale length, fairly plain looking, but a cool guitar.
Sure.
I don't remember his PRS very much, mind you, so that must have been after, because he was with Ibanez to start with.
Ah.
Sorry, don't make me burst your bubble. Crack on.
I mean, we've just burst my bubble by correcting my pronunciation of an artist that I don't care about. So.
Oh, big F for you.
But yeah, I think there are a lot of bands like that, or Tony Rombola. Tony Rombola? I'm sure it's Rombola.
Don't know who that is.
Play the guitar player in the band Godsmack.
That's a band I never get into.
Yeah, I think you just have to, if you want to. Certainly, there's a massive difference between being in a good band and then being a successful guitar player. And I think the thing that elevates you into that successful guitar player territory is not just your technical ability on the instrument, but how much you stand out. And that isn't just from your playing. Wes Borland will go down as an important guitar player from that generation because not only was he a cool original guitar player, but you couldn't not take notice of Wes Borland.
You mean with the crazy face paint, usually like a white face and the big black eyes, and or covered in latex, or any
just
number of things.
Bizarre but cool. And let's be realistic. Like, I think one of the arguments people always made as to why Slipknot were popular was because of their fucking stage antics and their masks and shit. But it didn't really work out for Mushroom Head, did it? So,
well, I don't know. There was quite a lot of Burberdeng. What's Mudvayne into it? It's not Mushroom Head.
That's Mudvayne.
Sorry, aye. Well, there you go. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Who's the guitar player in Mudvayne? Who knows?
I do say Greg Tibet.
I'm gonna have to check that, but carry
I'm sure
on.
it is because I'm
story.
sure he's in Hell Yeah. He had a signature V with Washburn. I'm sure it's his name.
What did you say his name was?
Is it Greg Tibet?
It's
Tribet.
Tribet. Yeah.
Oh, I look at you, just taking the opportunity to correct me because I corrected you. You're so petulant, Levi.
You were so close, Mike. But at least you didn't go with mushcock.
I know. Big mushy penis.
Carry on.
Yeah, I'll read more into this. So, the comment to Andy was, there's an April Fool's fake news story that comes out every year about Slash signing an exclusive deal with Fender, and it still gets people every time. And Andy replied, what's interesting is that a lot of legendary players have used Strats in their own social activities. What's interesting about that? Lots of people have signature guitars or endorsements and affiliations, but still play other guitars. It's just a fucking given.
Yeah.
What's exciting about that?
Especially when it's a Strat, which is like one of the most, I don't even want to say iconic, because when you say iconic, you're thinking in terms of like visual icon. But the Strat has an iconic sound. And if you are a Les Paul player, you can't get that sound. And sure, you probably don't need that sound most of the time, but there might be a time when you need that sound as a background sound when you're recording. So I would like to think that, I would imagine that even Les Paul himself probably owned a Strat.
Yeah, I would like to think so. So I'll just continue on, and it's just name dropping all over the place, and not even good ones. Like Kirk Hammett, he posted that he went out and bought an Acoustasonic Telecaster and Stratocaster. Some of the work Slash has done has been with a Stratocaster. Even The Edge, who we've had a signature guitar with, will have 23 different guitars over the course of one night. In his case, every song needed a very precise combination of one of his 4 amps and one of those 23 guitars. And the even settings for each song are very precise, which we know from Dallas, his guitar tech. I'm just got to take a wee step back and comment that I don't think the Edge needs 23 guitars or 4 amps. It just needs a delay pedal. Just being serious.
There's no doubt in my mind that all of those things could be achieved with an Axe FX. Yeah.
Oh, like it could have 4 presets on something and crack on.
Even if he needs it, 23 presets, fine. But like, you don't need a very specific guitar and a very specific amp.
Yeah. So we'll just continue on and listen to Andy talk yet more shit.
Yeah.
Then you've got a host of analog and digital pedals. The Edge is emblematic in some ways of how creative you can be by looking at all aspects of the signal chain. Is that right? He's known for his distortion tones and his wide and varied cleans, his reverbs and echoes, but only really the echo in that part. The fact that he uses fuzz or different octavers and signal processing. No, he's known because he plays a delay pedal.
I love the idea of someone listening to like a U2 record and going, I mean, just the guitar tone on this record is sublime. There might be one or two out there, but I just don't think it's guitar nerds that are drawn to
the only U2 song. I totally get you. The only U2 song I can think of where I'm like, the guitar stands out is Kiss Me, Kill Me. or whatever the fuck that's called.
I'm just going to stare blankly at you because you're complimenting a U2 song and I can't bring myself to do it.
It was in one of the Batman films and it was decent.
Oh, okay.
And the riff was alright. You remember it? No.
Oh, there we go. Cross it off on your bingo sheets, everybody. Mike has sang on the podcast.
Sang a riff.
Carry on.
Cool. And then the last sentence of this paragraph is, and speaking of pedals, that's another area we've put a lot of energy into over the last few years. It's an important part of the creative toolbox. I don't know if I would say that Fender have done quite a lot on it.
Yeah, they made like
rock guitars out, but
imitations of like tweed amps in boxes and shit like that. But yeah, you certainly don't think of Fender as being like, oh, got to check out the new Fender pedals.
Yeah. So the rest of the article's completely irrelevant. I don't think I would ever call Synyster Gates a contemporary manifestation of guitar icons. But that's just me. I don't really like his playing in general. I don't like his tone. I don't like...
Yeah, I'll give you that.
A lot of the stuff that he does, but that just might be because I don't like it. It might just be me taking a subjective approach to something that should be objective. I've no doubt that he is decent. I've watched a couple of videos. I think it was actually you and I that watched them, of him playing gypsy jazz stuff, and... Aye, fair enough.
I mean,
it's
he
not...
has an interest, but yeah.
Aye, I don't mean as in
gypsy
like
jazz in the way that I play gypsy jazz. Like,
but it's passable. Is my point. Like, I mean, I don't say that you're passable, but I just mean like
passable to somebody that isn't a connoisseur.
And that's me. You know what I mean? Like surface level, I'm like cool. And
are we saying that's what his metal playing is? Is passable to someone who isn't a connoisseur?
I would say so. I don't mean that in any shitty way. It's studio rock. It's not metal. It's studio rock. It's how much can we edit this so that it sounds as nice as we want it to be.
It's just a dangerous slope for me because you could say the same about like Disturbed, and I love Disturbed. So.
I don't know if I would say the same because I don't think Dan Donegan ever made himself out to be a guitar hero, or was never held up as a guitar hero.
Well, that's only because he doesn't play a whole lot of solos. I certainly remember like that Digitech pedal that he had.
The weapon.
Yeah. Again, what a wonderful name for a pedal. If you know your Scottish insults, calling someone a weapon, fantastic. There was that, but then of course they released was it Stricken? There's a guitar solo on. Is it the song Stricken?
Aye.
Whatever the first single off their third album was, off 10,000
You're
Fists.
right. And the solo on it's actually not terrible.
There was a guitar solo in it, and I remember hearing that for the first time and going, Jesus Christ, Dan Donegan's been practicing.
I mean, credit where credit's due. I would take that solo of Dan Donegan's over any one of Synyster Gates' terrible solos in my mind. And honestly, I think there's aspects of his playing where I just think you're an amateur and you want to be something way more than you actually are.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's to do with his vibrato or phrasing, or I actually don't know what it is, but there's something about it when I hear those guitar solos, especially when it's like the two-part harmonies that are always like perfectly minor and major, and I'm like, fucking stop it, mate, it's terrible.
Yeah.
It makes me want to cringe. It's like a synth over the top of it. Not to say that synths don't have a place in music.
I could sit and try and send you good Synyster Gates solos, but there just aren't any. It's just as simple as that. Like he's got some cool stuff, but none of it you're going to look at and just herald as being, the pinnacle of what is capable, what is possible on metal guitar. He's here's what I would describe him as, right? He is our generation, and our generation is probably the right term for it, unfortunately. He is probably our generation's Kirk Hammett.
Yes.
You know what I mean? He's a basher.
Yes.
He's a basher.
But I would say, even more than that, I would say that Avenged Sevenfold are our generation's, or the previous generation's rock and metal version of Little Mix, because it's clearly a studio put together band.
Unfortunately, that's just not the case, but alright. We talked about this, how Avenged Sevenfold started, and man, their first albums before Synyster Gates joins the band sound like really shitty punk albums. And then
they become a really shitty rock band.
Yeah, when they had somebody come in that knew a little bit about music. But they've been marketed well, and I like that. I admire. We always talk about this, music business. Like they knew what needed to be done in order to be successful in the business, and
they found a target audience.
Yeah,
they definitely found a target audience. Like, do you like Tim Burton movies? Are you 14 and female? Here's a rock band just for you. Do you wear alchemy clothing? Have you got a set of New Rocks?
Yeah.
Here's these perfect moshers up your street. Look,
sure.
They've got
there are a ton of bands
that have got
that tried that.
Mm-hmm.
Atreyu.
Mm-hmm. Didn't like them either.
Yeah, no, I'm not expecting you to like them. I just mean like there are lots of bands that had that as their demographic, but Avenged Sevenfold knew exactly what. Well, they all knew what their demographic was, but they knew what they needed to do to really steer into it and really capitalize on that. Whereas bands like Atreyu seemed more interested in their own art because their sound did change considerably as they went along, and I respect that. I respect a band that's willing to do that.
Yeah.
Whereas Avenged Sevenfold steer into the commercial side of things. All right, boys, well done. You're all very rich.
Essentially, what you're saying is Atreyu are musicians, and Avenged Sevenfold are marketing people.
And I wouldn't criticise them for that. I'm all right with that.
I mean, at the end of the day, they're clearly popular. One person's opinion doesn't overthrow the fact that they have all made very good careers for themselves.
Yeah.
And respect where respect's due. I don't like Ed Sheeran's music, but he makes a lot of money. There must be something in it. Maybe I don't get it. I'm not too stupid to admit that I don't always get things. So
I'm gonna check Avenged Sevenfold on YouTube. See how high their some of their biggest played songs are. 49 million, 163 million, 233 million, 100. Yeah, so nothing even close. Nothing even close. I also want to check how much Synyster Gates is worth.
I would never ever Google that because it's so wrong on so many levels.
Fair, but you'll see why I'm doing this with the segue that I'm going with. So, yeah, he has an estimated net worth of about $16 million, which, might be a little bit high. But regardless, Synyster Gates could probably find himself in a position where he could afford to bid on Eric Clapton's 1954 Fender Stratocaster Slowhand because it's up for auction. And the bidding starts at a cool $1 million. How's that for a fucking segue?
That was really good, mate. I'm actually genuinely sitting here like, I can't even be mad. I'm just impressed.
He should do this professionally.
It's almost like we're getting into the swing of things. So Clapton bought the non-tremolo Strat circa 1979 and used it as his main slide guitar on stage. Clapton's 54 Strat has been put up for auction, with the opening bid set at an eye-watering $1 million is expected to be one of the world's most expensive electric guitars. Nicknamed Slowhand, the Strat is a rare non-tremolo model that Clapton tuned to open G and used extensively in the studio and on stage for slide parts, notably opening his 79 sets with the toe-tapping Tulsa time. Is that meant to be Tulsa?
I want to say it would be Tulsa.
That's what I was going to say, but I don't think it's Tulsa. I've never heard of that before. But we'll say Tulsa time. Obviously, I don't fucking know
We're
any
not
Clapton stuff.
Clapton fans, no.
Nope. And early in the morning, it was on regular rotation until circa 1985. The serial number reads 7431. Under the neck but it reads TG54 in pencil, TG standing for Tadeo Gomez, the Fender employee who shaped the neck. Spec-wise, there are a trio of Strat single coils, which if they're original 54 models, the year the Strat was launched, should have Alnico magnets, staggered hand bevel pole pieces, heavy gauge form bar magnet wire, and magnificent dynamics. Why are they getting into so much weird spec about a guitar that's going on sale? That's really weird.
Well, it's just not that much more interesting stuff you can say about it. I do kind of like a hardtail Strat though. That's cool.
It is. I think that was quite a big thing in the Dan Smith era Fenders, wasn't it?
Right.
And having one tone pot and also having like a non-routed tremolo, and the jack was on the actual plate where the second tone pot used to be. So Fender have had some really interesting revisions, I would say, because it's not really any major changes.
Sure.
But
what I've never done is looked into like a tone comparison between a traditional Strat and a hardtail Strat, because obviously when you look at this, and especially if you look at the back of a hardtail Strat, it doesn't have the massive route taken out of it, and you have to wonder how much of a difference that makes to the sound, the classic Strat sound, because really, like when you really look at this, sure, it's not in terms of like the way the bridge is, but this has got more in line with a Telecaster than it does a Strat.
Aye, I know what you mean.
And I think that's really
strung
cool.
through as well, which is obviously interesting.
Yeah.
But no, you're bang on. There's not much more to this story. We'll get a wee chat. I'll just read the last couple of bits. Among the case candy is a signed letter of authenticity from Clapton's guitar tech, Lee Dixon. Indeed, his handwriting adorns a sticky tape label on the case that reads 54 S-Burst Fender Strat, number 7431. You also get a signed gold edition of Slowhand, the album, and a strap. That's a bargain if you ask me. It's only going to start at $1 million.
Yeah.
So the auction's been hosted by Gotta Have Rock and Roll and opens on the 25th of November and is expected to fetch between 1.5 million and 2 million, which if you take into consideration the 3.9 million David Gilmour's Black Strat went for, could be considered something of an entry-level Strat for the 1%.
Yeah, I have to say that I know it probably will sell for that, but for what this is, I feel that's a little bit overpriced. Like considerably overpriced. Even if you've got $100 million in the bank and losing 2 million of it isn't really going to bother you, I just still think that for what this guitar is, that's probably a little bit overpriced. It's not his main Strat. You know, this is something that's played on a couple of tracks.
Main Strat, wasn't it?
Yeah. So just having this just played on a couple of tracks here and there, and have appeared on some live videos is just to me like $2 million because Eric Clapton touched it. Like, come on.
Well, if we take a wee step back and look at it, because I've just jumped onto gottahaverockandroll.com and had a wee nosy. Minimum bid $1 million. Estimate 1.5 to 2 million. Current bid 0. Number of bids 0. So,
yeah,
we'll see what happens for there.
It might sell. It might not.
It might not. That'll be an interesting one to come back to next week.
Yeah.
Speaking of Eric Clapton, him and Van Morrison have teamed up for an anti-lockdown charity single.
Now, I want to, before we do this, I want to make careful attention. Let's pay careful attention when we're doing this to the quality of journalism in this.
I know.
Referring to Van Morrison as Van every time. No, it's you're a journalist, right? You use their surname. It's Morrison. Morrison said, not Van said. Like, come on.
Vans can't talk.
Yeah,
they're an inanimate object. You silly sausage. This was only reported like less than a day ago. So Eric Clapton and Van Morrison are teaming up to release a charity single in protest of COVID-19 lockdown restrictions and their effect on musicians. Well, I hate to break it to you, Eric Clapton and Van Morrison, but if you can't breathe, you can't sing.
Well, so they don't give enough details in this.
I know.
It's
really clickbaity, innit?
It's super clickbaity because you could go one way or the other. Because the next paragraph says that it's to raise funds for the lockdown financial hardship fund, helping musicians who are unable to perform, and that's a big difference between like the types. So I just saw that people in London were being arrested yesterday for anti-lockdown protests.
Really?
Which, you know, all right, fair enough. The thing I took issue with is that it's currently illegal to protest, and it's like, Jesus, do we live in a country where our government is telling us it's illegal to protest something? Like, that feels very... Can the government do that? So you're not legally allowed to protest this thing? Like, oh, we're just going to start rounding up the blacks and shooting them, but protesting would be illegal, so don't do that. Like, come on, surely protest should always be allowed.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think that's a very dangerous, slippery slope, but I don't think we're at that stage yet. I don't think where it's like a martial law, fucking army in the streets, get home or die scenario. I think it's more so a please do not congregate where you don't need to.
Sure.
We understand things are bad, but in the same vein, totally get what you're saying. You can't say that you can't have another person in your house when there can be 2,000 people at a venue watching a rugby game or tennis. It's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
School's absolutely queued out as well. Anyway, let's continue with this. I was going to save that to a wee bit later on, the point that it's very clickbaity because we could talk about it. But
okay.
It's alright, you've got right into it. We'll just go with it. I'll read the rest of this and then we'll have a quick chat. The track, Stand and Deliver, is released in support of Van's Save Live Music campaign and will raise funds for the Brown Eyed Girl Bluesman Lockdown Financial Hardship Fund, as you mentioned. Van has strongly criticised, we'll change that, Morrison has strongly criticised lockdown measures that have halted almost all live music in the UK since March, and Eric has added his voice to the campaign. There are many of us who support Van and his endeavours to save live music. He's an inspiration, Eric said in a statement backing Van in September. We must stand up and be counted because we need to find a way out of this mess. The alternative is not worth thinking about. Live music might never recover. Discussing the new track, which he wrote and Eric recorded, Van told Variety, Eric's recording is fantastic and will clearly resonate with the many who share our frustrations. It's heartbreaking to see so many talented musicians lack any meaningful support from the government, but we want to reassure them that we are working hard every day to lobby for the return of live music and to save our industry. The new anthem follows a collection of protest songs, including one called No More Lockdown that Van released in September, alongside a petition calling for the return of live music. The UK returned to lockdown in November, and residents will enter a new strict tiered system of local lockdowns from December the 2nd. Oh, I don't know why this fucking article's meant to be pulling.
I know, it's
Do you know what I mean?
It's turbo clickbaity. It's it's super clickbaity. And there's no, like, as pessimistic as it sounds, like, it just, Eric, Van, I'm going to call you Van now. It doesn't matter, because you will have absolutely no impact on this, because again, if you live somewhere where the government can make protesting illegal, then if they're telling you no gigs are happening, then no gigs are happening. Like, it's as simple as that. And any amount of protest of that is not going to change it, because as angry as you make the people about it, if every single person in this country is like, no, we've had enough of this, we're gonna march on Downing Street and tell the government that we're not happy, you can't do that, because that's been made illegal. So we just need to tighten our belt buckles and get on with things. Worth pointing out, like, we're in lockdown in Scotland, and it's just totally different from how it was in March. You know what I mean? Was it March we were originally in a lockdown?
Yeah. Okay. What do you mean?
The streets were dead in March.
Yes.
They're just
Fair.
absolutely dead. No cars on the road, nothing. Like, you felt like you were in a ghost town. And now, like, if I'm out on the roads are packed, like, just completely packed. There was a part where I was like, is going out going to be a nightmare during this? Because am I just constantly going to get pulled over by the police telling me I'm not allowed to leave the house? There was a part of me that was like, that's maybe what I'm expecting. But then I'm out on the road and I'm like, well, no need to worry about that, because they'll be very busy pulling over the other 100 cars that are out on the road. So
at least.
Yeah.
You're not kidding. Saturday, which is yesterday, I was over at the Party Cannon studio setting some stuff up, trying to get basically it all set up for demoing.
Right.
And had yet more problems with interfaces and stuff I'm not going to get into. But I went to buy a power cable. So there's a big shopping park next to it with like a Tesco, a big Tesco, and like M&S and Curry's and B&M and Poundland and Next and things like that, and it was fucking chock-a-block, like scarily busy. Now, I get the time of the year, people are out buying, probably panic buying quite a bit as well.
Sure.
Because of, well, Christmas coming up, lockdown, whatever else. But it was mental, man. It was even talking to the staff at doors and stuff. They were like, we're not allowed to put in through the tills, but if you order online, we can bring it out to you. And it's just weird as fuck, but still super busy.
Yeah.
It was like one of the stores, I think, was closed, genuinely, of all the shops in that area. And the car park was fucking heaving.
Yeah. I have to look at it and be like I can sympathise with people being very anti-lockdown. I'm pretty anti-lockdown at this stage, because I have to take the opinion that back in March, if the lockdown that we went in worked, why do we need a second one? And if it didn't work, what use is a second one? You know what I mean? It didn't have the impact that it should have had, and this will be exactly the same. But also,
especially a second one where people aren't really paying attention to it. So
it absolutely is what it is. But I guess what I was going to say is, like, I think it's one thing to be anti-lockdown. It's another thing to be anti-mask. I'm anti-lockdown, but pro taking all of the positive steps that you can take to minimise the risk of people around you.
Yeah.
You know? Pro freedom, but respect other people's freedom.
I would like to think that most people are on that common sense hype. That I know I would like to think wishful thinking. I would like to think that people are not happy about the idea of basically being under house arrest, although it's not like that. That's just the easiest way to explain it. But still very conscious that regardless of all of this, we still need to be very cautious. I have quite a few people on my Facebook that I struggle not to reply to when they make comments about how this is all just government control and COVID doesn't exist and who cares, because more people die of the flu every year anyway, and just all that shit. It's 99.6% of the population don't get it and blah blah blah. And I'm like, you don't have any fucking clue. Your real life experience has somehow moulded with your confirmation bias of reading things on the internet, and you've decided that I'm no fucking having to follow this because I'm not a sheeple. Like, you've not done any research. Shut up.
I know what you mean. Like, stuff like that is like, but I also have to look at like the government doling out a lot of money for furloughs and things like that. And like I'm due another grant from the government from HMRC that I can apply for in a couple of days. And I just have to look at all of this money that the government are forking out and going, surely, if you just forked out, I don't know, £80 for every single person in this country to provide them with an industrial grade gas mask. I say gas mask, but you know what I mean, like the types of masks you see them wearing in Chernobyl, you know, in the TV show for Chernobyl. Like, surely that would have been cheaper.
That's got a proper decent filter in it, like a HEPA mask.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'd have to ask Sean. I'm sure Sean would know. But you know,
KN85s.
Yeah, the type of thing that would that you'd feel comfortable in a radioactive space. So, you know, so, something like that. Something that's going to keep you relatively safe. Surely that would have been cheaper than the thousands and thousands of pounds that had just been. Because by the end of and I'm not happy about it. When we eventually come out of this lockdown thing, I probably will have had £12,000 in grants from the government because of what their lockdowns have done to my business. And it's just like, well, that's money that you didn't really need to fork out. But we're getting way too political.
Yeah, you hate getting political. That's why you spur me on every episode. You hate it so much. It's a crazy situation, man. And I've been saying it for the start. See if they had just decided to even trial a universal basic income, the effect that would have had in the economy, giving people who don't have money to spend on the things they need to spend money on, i.e. food, clothes, utilities, would have had so much a better impact than bailing out businesses and then leaving people to basically be destitute, in my mind. Anyway, as you say, too political, we'll move on. So
tick it off on the bingo list, guys. But actually,
exactly,
no, you can't tick it off on the bingo list because it was probably me leading that one rather than mine.
Aye.
So.
Well, just for everybody that's playing Guitar Souls bingo, fuck the Tories. There we go. Easy. Know what I mean? Get it in one. So, anyway, speaking of fuck money hoarders, not quite a good segue, is it?
No.
SoundCloud's revenues jumped to 37% of the 166 million in 2019, and it's just posted its first ever profitable quarter. I thought this one was quite interesting because SoundCloud are very prevalent, and when you get into the figures of it, once we read more into the article, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I had, initially I was like, who cares? It's SoundCloud. Who uses SoundCloud? But evidently some people use SoundCloud. The reason I decided that this
use SoundCloud.
Well, exactly. Like, the reason I decided that this is probably a good thing to go with is it actually got me riled up from what we were talking about last week, because the more that episode mulled over in my mind, the more I'm legitimately raging about the fact that we host this podcast for free on YouTube. With audio and video, it doesn't cost us a penny, and yet to have this podcast on SoundCloud so they can host the tiny audio file, that costs us money. And that annoys me because I want to go, fuck it, we'll just do everything on YouTube. But evidently people do like to consume the audio version of the podcast. I just have to look at that and go, okay, well, if it costs me money to do things on SoundCloud, how the fuck have you only just become profitable?
I think they probably did the old Amazon thing.
Yeah.
No profits, continuously reinvesting and growing the business, making it bigger, having more options, till they get to the point where it's like, cool, when we start making profit, even if it's only 1%, that's 1% of a ridiculous number.
Yep.
And we're so big, the chances of us failing are very slim. Anyway, I'll read some of this, which is obviously a lot of music industry / business newspaper rattling on about figures. We'll get to the important points after a couple of sentences.
That's us though. Like, I'm super into the music business side of things and the nerdy side of things, and you're super into the politics. I know this is supposed to be a guitar podcast, but fucking deal with it. This is what we like.
It's music business. This is music business.
Lawsuits and Tories.
There's going to be an episode where you and I are going to actually come on with the suits on, isn't there?
I think we need a Lawsuits and Tories t-shirt.
Lawsuits and Tories. Sue the Tories. I'm all about it. SoundCloud has confirmed to music business worldwide that it achieved its first ever profitable quarter on a EBITDA basis. I don't know what the fuck that means. In Q3 this year.
It's got to be something to do with end of business. I don't know. The end of business tax date. I don't know. I'll look that up while you're doing that. Carry on.
It's essentially net income or earnings with interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization added back.
Right, okay.
EBITDA can be used to analyse and compare profitability along companies and industries, as it eliminates the effects of financing and capital expenditures. There you go,
Learn
So
something
earnings,
new every day. I'll have forgotten
earn-
that by the time we finish.
I
Oh,
can
it's
barely
already
even
gone.
read it. Yep. Earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. EBITDA. Okay. The news comes in as fresh company filings reveal that SoundCloud posted 147.6 million euros in revenues in calendar 2019, up 37% year over year. That represented significantly faster growth than the prior year. In 2018, SoundCloud posted a year-on-year revenue increase of 19%. So 19 up to 37 is quite a fucking jump. SoundCloud's 2019 revenue growth accelerated as the year went on. The firm says its quarterly revenues were up 17% year-on-year in quarter one, and in quarter four they were up by 43%. Meanwhile, SoundCloud's annual operating losses in 2019 narrowed significantly, down 28% to 23.8 million euros from 32.9 million euros in 2018. That's quite a big loss. But then, as this article even puts it, ready for a head-twisting stat? While the likes of Spotify, Apple Music and YouTube Music currently have circa 70 million tracks on each of their platforms, SoundCloud tells Music Business Worldwide that it now plays host to over 250 million tracks.
That's interesting to me because that suggests to me that Music Business Worldwide doesn't understand what SoundCloud is or what SoundCloud does. Comparing it to Spotify, Apple Music and YouTube Music misses the point. SoundCloud does what it does because any user can just go and upload a track to it. To me, the idea of SoundCloud being profitable is ridiculous because prior to me and starting the podcast with you and having to use them as a service that we needed to rely on, I just thought of SoundCloud as somewhere that bedroom producers just uploaded their tracks that they could then post on social media. So of course they're going to have more fucking tracks. Like if you're a bedroom producer and you've just made 5 shitty little songs, you're not going to go, right, how do I get these up on Spotify so all of my fans can stream them? You're just going to put them on SoundCloud because it's easy. So of course they've got more fucking tracks. Of course they do. And
Still
I'm
fucking
gonna,
ridiculous though.
I'll speculate that the reason that SoundCloud is now showing profit is because of COVID. They're showing profits because podcasting has become ridiculously popular, but you cannot host a podcast on SoundCloud if you're not paying. Well, you can, but you'd need to constantly be going back and deleting your old episodes because if you have a free account, you can upload, I think it's
20 or 30?
4 hours worth of music.
Oh, is it?
If memory serves me right, I think it's about 4 hours worth of music. So if you've got an hour-long podcast, like you're shit out of luck pretty fucking fast.
We were shit out of luck within 2 episodes at the start of this then. Craziness. So SoundCloud also says that as of November 2020, 12 million creators, including musicians, DJs and podcasters, etc., so reaching what your point is there, are heard on its platform every month. 12 million every month, and that over 80,000 artists are now monetising their work directly via SoundCloud's own distribution and services arm, Repost and Repost Select. I didn't know this was a thing, but this will be very interesting to see this go up against Spotify and Apple Music and YouTube Music and all these other things as well.
Yep.
And DistroKid and things like that, CD Baby. SoundCloud's latest fiscal filing states that during 2019 its platform set all-time highs in metrics including monthly active users, daily active users, listening time, subscribers and advertising.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive. I think the rest it's
No, it's all pretty inside baseball type stuff. Like,
aye, it's very business speak.
If obviously if you're interested in what we're talking about, we would encourage you to go and check out the story and look into this a little bit further. But we don't want to bore you with it. But it's interesting to see. I think obviously we're trying to read less of stories and talk more about things. I don't see a huge future for SoundCloud just purely based on the fact that anybody can upload content. I think that really hampers things in the same way that YouTube, you don't think of YouTube as a hub for all of the best content that you could possibly find versus something like Netflix. You expect the best of the best when you go to Netflix because Netflix curate the content that gets uploaded. If YouTube were curating the content that got uploaded, it would be a different standard of stuff. There's no point bragging about the fact that you've got 250 million tracks on your service when, I would probably imagine 1,000 of those are probably someone farting into a microphone. And I don't mean like doing gutturals, I mean literally farting into a microphone.
Could be.
And in terms of like profitability for users, having a service where you can monetize your content, again, like it's not even something that I'm interested in. And I don't want to keep banging that drum, but I've got a lot of subscribers and if I'm getting 100,000 listens or views on YouTube every month, I could be pushing for the same sort of thing on SoundCloud, and it's just ultimately it's not viable for someone like me. So what are they trying to do with putting stats out there like that? I think what they might be doing is trying to appeal to some bigger artists to go, because that would push their business over the top.
It's quite
We
clever,
talked
right?
about Taylor Swift last episode and her re-recording those first 6 albums. If she re-recorded those first 6 albums and released them exclusively on SoundCloud, that would be profitable for SoundCloud. It would be profitable for her. So to me, this story kind of reads like a bait for things like that. Like try and pull in more people and not rely on Spotify, where you're going to get an insignificant portion of revenue.
Insignificant's a very nice way to put it.
Yeah.
Like, fucking forgettable. It's probably more accurate.
While you were reading that, I just
Uh-huh.
when you said they posted 147.6 million euros, $165 million in revenues. So it's just revenues, calendar 2019. Oh, okay. So to be fair, that won't be due to COVID because it's 2019. But still, I have to look at that. And as ridiculous as it sounds, I would be happy to have for my business to do $165 million in revenue. But let's be realistic. In the grand scheme of things, compared to their competition, $165 million in revenue is not a lot.
Mm-hmm.
If we think how much money Spotify are bringing in.
I think we need to make a distinction yet again. Platforms like Spotify, etc., are for, generally speaking, music or media hosted by people who are, at least in some level, followed by other people.
Yes.
SoundCloud, as you say, is just so open, you could just throw stuff up. It'd be like us comparing the YouTube stats of stuff to Spotify and stuff, if you know what I mean. Although we're talking earlier on that Chop Suey's now over 1 billion views, and it's the first kind of metal rock song that we can really think of that hits that mark. There could be videos on there that are super viral that are literally just stupid. You know what I mean? Like a fart noise could have 1 billion views.
Yeah.
And they're not uploaded for the same thing. So comparing that to like Spotify or whatever, which is a platform designated for active listening, bit different.
And Spotify's generating $3 billion in revenue. Like,
off the back of all us hardworking musicians. Thanks, Daniel Ek.
Yeah. The thing that
Bro.
I don't think SoundCloud have is a way to, like, YouTube's a more comparable service, I think, to SoundCloud because anybody can upload content. But of course, YouTube is owned by Google, and Google have got they serve ads. That's how they make their business. So they've got a platform
program
on which they can serve ads, and they can also provide those ads, being the people that curates the ads. So there's a way for that to make money and to be profitable. And short of having SoundCloud being in the business of curating ads to put at the start of people's content, and you're not going to want that if you go on SoundCloud to listen to a 3-minute track. And I know people that are like, and they do it for the totally wrong reasons. They sign up for Spotify Premium, not because Spotify Premium is a good service or not because they want artists to be getting more money, but because they're annoyed about the fact that every 10 tracks or whatever, they have to hear an advert. Parasites. So unless SoundCloud are going to do that, I just don't see their revenue going up, because how are you generating it other than from users?
Well, as they mentioned, they were talking about repost. That was mentioned briefly. I've just done a wee bit of reading, just while you were talking there. So It's creator business refers to the money paid by creators for tools and services, such as those offered by a SoundCloud Pro Unlimited account and those offered by Repost, which SoundCloud acquired last summer. A basic standalone Repost plan today offers indie artists distribution to multiple platforms, including SoundCloud, Spotify and Apple Music, plus services like playlist pitching and promotional tools for $30 a year. So that's where they're taking it on.
Yeah.
It's a kind of different idea rather than...
It's DistroKid.
Essentially, that's it. As I was saying in CD Baby and whatever else. Just try to do their best, man. But it'll be interesting to see where that goes and if they grow any bigger.
It just looks like an evolving business model where they're trying to find their footing and see what's profitable, because let's not beat around the bush. They started in business trying to be like an audio version of YouTube, where anybody could upload content, you could go and you could listen to your content. Whereas now they're trying to do more of the DistroKid thing. But of course, when you look at DistroKid distribute your music to platforms where people can then listen to it. They don't try and do both. They don't try and be the distributor, but also the platform where people come to listen. So yeah, interesting to see where things go, and
Definitely.
quite a nerdy story to end the show with, but it's kind of nature of the beast, I think.
Music and business, what we're meant to do. You know what I mean? We got the laughs out earlier on. Honourable mention to the Kiss story that I was going to bring up, just because I wanted to laugh at Kiss, but you mentioned it's way old. So
yeah. In fact, I just knew that if we ran with that story, sorry, I probably eliminated your face there. I knew if we ran with that story, we're just being the parasites.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
barrel scrapers.
These news articles that are like, oh yeah, did you know that in 2014 Kiss did something stupid at the Macy's parade? It's like, well, no, I didn't know that. But why am I seeing every news outlet cover this right now? And it's because one ran with it, and then the others are like, oh, we don't want to miss out on those clicks.
Nope, it's a slow news day when they're bringing shit up for 6 or 7 years ago. I didn't even know it was for years ago. I was just laughing at it. I was just laughing at the idea of them being fucked over. Makes a change.
Asses out of themselves. So yeah,
exactly. So
enjoyable episode. Fun. Thank you very much for your time, Mike. To our wonderful listeners, again, please do hit up our fan mail section, which is GsolesFanMail@gmail.com. It will enter you for the chance to win a really cool prize. We're gonna have a selection of really cool prizes actually, but yeah, do that. It'll be good fun, and we'll introduce that as a new section on the show. And on a completely unrelated note, did you know? This show has been brought to you by our friends over at Ormsby Guitars. If you have the time, please do head on over and follow them on Instagram to see more of their incredible work. I'm actually spending more and more of my time each day scrolling through Instagram and really getting the appeal of looking at incredible instruments like this. It just makes you want to order something really, really special. Of course, you can always contact them if you want to order a custom shop guitar, or head on over to their website, check out the pre-order section, and get involved on the upcoming Goliath Run 14. Again, one of these guitars can be pre-ordered for as little as $1,200 US. That's an incredible price. That's a lot of guitar for very little money. So if you want something like this in your life, head on over to ormsbyguitars.com and get involved. Thanks so much to Ormsby, and we'll see you for another show soon. Laters. So a huge thank you to our friends and family over at Ormsby Guitars. You guys absolutely rock. Please do go and check out their new models, the Futuras. We think they look great, and we're looking forward to getting our hands on some very soon. Any closing thoughts for our fans out there, our friends, our lovely listeners, Mike?
Absolutely. Thanks once again for tuning in to listen to Levi and ours irrelevant and nonsense fucking comments. I had a lot of fun talking shit. If you guys want to send emails into the email address that Levi has put below on screen and mentioned, the GsolesFanMail@googlemail.com.co.uk. Gmail.co.uk. .com. I think they all list to the same place.
This is why
to be
I'm
honest.
supposed to read it.
Yeah. Well, click the email link that Levi's put below the video. He's probably put it in the comments in SoundCloud, if not in the listing. Fucking send us shit. I don't care what it is. It can be stupid. It can be articles you want us to talk about. It can be topics you want us to debate.
Pictures. Send us a selfie. Like if you want to be on the show, if you send us a selfie of you vomiting over yourself, or a selfie of you wearing a Guitar Soul shirt, anything. We're interested in seeing it all, and we want
Strange
as many
how
of you out
you
there
led
to
with
be in
vomiting
there.
yourself.
Oh, I know, yeah.
Sicko.
I also really like the idea of us getting sent so many pictures of people vomiting over themselves rather than them sending them to Party Cannon. Just so you can be like, guys, I fucking told you about this. Why have you not sent these to us? And they're like, we don't want to be associated with Party Cannon.
Fuck your band. But I like your stupid podcast.
Yeah.
Aye, that'd be good. Other than that, just I hope you're all safe. I hope you're all well. I hope everything's going okay for you. Thanks to the people who continuously reach out. I like speaking to as many as I can when I get the chance. I like Levi. Unfortunately, there are many facets of things that take my attention away. So busy days. But yeah,
busy
thanks
days,
once again.
Busier nights.
Aye, it's just busy life in general.
Yeah. As always, links to t-shirts in the description or other merchandise. Please do check it out. And it's very much appreciated. Mike, until next time.
Look after each other.
See this? Dead inside. Don't even expect anything more. It's how it is now.
I'm not giving the fingers to the fans. This is to you.
Yeah, go fuck yourself.